Welcome to another video on the MK3 Supra project. And what you're seeing right now is me working on the valve covers. I use copper nuts on these valve covers and torquing everything down. I don't use the traditional screws and washers on my valve covers. I have studs there and these copper nuts, and I've been just torquing them down by hand so far. And the last phase of this torque phase is to torque them to spec. And what I remember from doing this was that the torque spec that I used was really low. It was something like 8 Newton meters or something. And yeah, just torque everything down to spec. Hear that clicking sound and we're done. Next phase, what I did was I disassembled the coil packs, as you can see, just to clear or clean the lower holding plate for these ignition coils. I used the sandblaster, the blasting cabinet for this lower plate, and I painted it, as you can see, the same gold color as the valve covers. And then I just reinstalled everything, just checked the wires and checked the bolts and threads and everything, just to be sure that everything is still intact and working. Sometimes these coils, the coil covers, the plastic cracks, so I also tried to look for any cracks in those plastics. I reinstalled the coils where they belong on top of the valve covers, and then put the final cover on. And at this point I realized that I didn't really like the original studs that I have, so I decided to remove the original studs, as you can see right now, and tried to reassemble this cover again with some nice bolts. And here you can see me using much better to assemble this everything with these hexagon bolts. I don't know if they're called really hexagon or what they're called, but you can see what I'm using there. I use the same kind of bolts on the timing belt cover. Torque everything down so it looks nice. Also, always nice to do stuff when you have new shiny hardware to mount everything, and especially when you have this kind of gold color parts that have clear coat and everything on top of them. So yeah, it's really nice to see this engine coming along. Now I'm just putting on some water hoses for the turbo. This is just the turbo cooling. I know that some people bypass this hose, and I like to use these spring clamps. As you can see, they have this special tool also, and the spring clamps, I think these work wonders. I mean, the ones that you screw down with the little screw, I don't think those are very good, but these spring clamps, they're really good, really efficient. I like to use these as much as I can. So after assembling the valve covers and the coils and the water cooling for the turbos, I started to work on these electrics. And as you can see, there was a lot of connecting and reconnecting and rerouting for these wires. I'm starting to kind of realize how much work there's gonna be with these electronics to make everything as clean as I want. Just what you see here is me trying to figure out where everything is gonna go, and just trying to clean up some of these electrics. And as you can see, there's a lot of work to do. I mean, this is probably one of my biggest projects that I've done for any car when I'm dealing with these stock wirings. Now what I started to do was finalize the intake manifold. I put, naturally, because this is totally custom intake manifold, you need to use a glue gasket in between the plenum and the runners. So this is me just making sure that the plenum and runners line up very well. I used 2 studs for lining just for the this lineup. Then I just placed the plenum on the runners or the runners on the plenum, torqued them, and now it was time to make my throttle body finished. As you can see, I had to manufacture a custom kind of bracket for the 7M TPS sensor. I had to 3D print a spacer for this kind of stuff, and for the spacer I naturally made my own very special, very humble little mark for your eyes only. Now it was time to prepare the idle valve. So for the idle valve, I just made this custom bracket because normally the idle valve connects to the intake manifold directly. So now I had to manufacture this kind of bracket. I welded it with a TIG, and yeah, it was rather easy to manufacture. Then I just glued it from the other side just to make sure that it's completely airtight. This is plastic padding. It can be used for these kind of applications. Very easy to use. There you have it. Then I used this gasket material for making this kind of ring or donut shape thingy to seal this. As you can see, I'm just using it for sealing, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to seal and let very little air through. So that was it. Just torqued it also there down to spec to let it harden and let it dry. Next I'm gonna paint this part also just to make it rust protected. But that was easy. Next, as you can see from the engine bay, the starter motor is gone. I just went to the shop and bought some starter cable, or this battery cable, 50mm, so it's very heavy duty. Just making sure that the cable itself is able to handle all that electric current. I have an electric engineer who calculated for me how much the current drops with this kind of length on the starter cable, and it's really small, so that's why I'm pretty much on the safe side making it this way. As you can see, I have this neat trick of making pushing the threads inside the cable head. Now I use this heating tool to clamp the head. As you can see, now it's done. Very tight. Put some heat shrink there, and then to the other side also the same way. Very good system this. You don't want those little spikes around when you're doing these cable heads. Also hit this like so, and now it's done. Just give it a bit of heat to make the heat shrink tight, and then it was time to prepare and decide where I was gonna route the wiring through, because I need to run it directly to the trunk. So there I found a nice spot where I can push it through the cabin and to the trunk. Now I connect the wiring end to the starter, tied it down. I tried the ignition wire also there, just to make sure that everything is still working well. And then I just torqued down the 2 bolts that keep the starter in place, and that was it. Now the starter is there and working fine with new cables and everything. And as you saw in the previous video, this starter is manufactured or refreshed, I mean, just lately, so it kind of worked wonders. Here I'm routing the wiring through the cabin, and here I got it to the trunk. When I noticed that the cable head was too small, so I had to drill it a little bit bigger. And after drilling it to 10 millimeters, I can hook it to my battery, connect it there, and the battery is naturally not grounded to my chassis, so it's not going to work quite yet. But anyway, that was it. Thanks for watching.